Here we go. Going to take the single speed bike that I built up last winter with the twist laced spokes, and these things have stayed amazingly true, which is kind of mind-blowing to me because I really didn't expect a lot with the whole twist lace. And I set it up as a single speed, and as you can tell by the dirt and grime, it definitely got used quite a bit. But I am out of a road bike, and of all my bikes, this is the only one that has a derailleur hanger on it. So I went ahead and bought, put the lights on. There we go. I got a couple Amazon special road wheels. I'm trying to pick up the name. And they weren't expensive. They were $100 for the pair. 9-speed Hyperglide free hub body. Ratchet sounds good. Came with a spacer if I want to put a smaller cassette. I have had these mountain bike levers. They're IRD brake levers. The wheels came with a quick release. I am going to put a narrow wide chain ring because it's going to be a 1x system. And I've got a handlebar. As far as the drivetrain goes, that didn't come in yet, but I can at least get this thing started, and I'll be able to use the brakes, the brake cable. All this is still usable. I am going to swap the mustache bars out for the bars that I showed you earlier, and that's only because they will work better with the shifter and the brake lever. Mustache bars don't do a good job if you have regular brake levers. They're usually too short here, or you have to use road style levers on their side. And a lot of people are comfortable with that. I've just never found them comfortable. I find mustache bars in general amazingly comfortable, and they're one of my favorite types of handlebars, just not for the type of setup I'm looking to go with. And focus, there we go. All right, let's get started. All right, time to take the wheels off. The rear wheel, this one's the front. The rear wheel, I squished the stays in a little to make it the right width for the track hub, but because it's a steel frame, I'll be able to spread it and get it open. Instead of taking the brake pads off to get past the tire, you just flip this little thing open. A lot of your dual pivot road bikes, and quite a bit of road bikes, have something similar. One down. I'll flip the brake lever up on the rear. Yeah, because I don't want to get my hands dirty. Bam! Look at that. Got my handy tire lever. These are Continental Ultra Sport tires. They're actually very inexpensive road tires, but they're durable. They roll nice. I have them on a lot of my bikes because anybody that buys road bike tires know how expensive they can be. Almost the price of car tires. And these, I think, are like $40 or something like that. So inexpensive for a performance tire. But they roll nice, they're durable. I don't get a lot of flats. I don't think I've gotten any flats on these specific ones. And I can get them on Amazon and have them here in a couple days. The tape that came stock on this feels really good. We're going to go with it. stretch the tires down. Give me a little more slack so I can get this with my thumbs. I'm going to need a tire lever. This tube in here is extremely baggy. Push the valve up and in. That way the tube doesn't end up underneath the bead. And it's a lot easier to do when you're not trying to do it in front of a camera. And I'm just feeling to make sure I'm not pinching a tube. There we go. And I'm going to take my frame pump, just put a few PSI in it. Just to get the tires to sit round. And I'll break out my floor pump, which isn't in the room right now. Oh yeah. And this will, it'll just help me roll it around later is what it's going to do. Now we can squeeze them onto the bike. Get the front tire on. And I need the quick release. The thing with quick releases, the springs, focus. A lot of times people put these springs on backwards and they have the wide end towards the inside and they wonder why their wheels sit crooked inside the frame. And that's why you want the skinny part towards the axle. And that is so when you undo the quick release, the wheel ends up separating evenly on each side so you can take the wheel in and out of the frame easily. Customers that come in on a regular basis end up reversing a spring. I end up just chucking the spring because that way they can't screw with it again. And check for your tire direction so you get that right. I like to have the quick releases on the non-drive side. That's just personal preference. It doesn't necessarily matter either way. And it's not a bad idea to put some lube on the threads, but I don't see much of a need to do that. I use my bikes enough. like to get the quick release cam. I tighten it until the cam starts grabbing straight out. Then I know that I have enough clamping force. And that felt a little weak, so I will tighten it a little bit more. Make sure the wheel's all the way up in the frame. Oh yeah, that's got some good clamping force. And these rims are a lot narrower than my fixed gears. But that's okay, this is all coming apart, at least the cables are. The lighting in here today is strange. When I have the actual building lights on, it washes out the camera. And when I have them off, the camera looks great, but it's hard for me to see. Same thing, I tighten this side up until the cam part is starting to grab with the lever straight out, and then I cam it over. People are picky about which way their quick releases are. I like to have them back. I can get more leverage to close them, but a lot of people either clamp it under here or in between here. It's all fine. I just like doing it back here. I can get more leverage. Not sure if I pinched that tube or if the air just came out. But that's okay because we have other things to do. Okay. There's the master link. Hopefully that's showing up on the camera. There we go. Come on. There we go. Great thing about this bike is I don't care if I scratch it. Chain ring comes off. And sometimes you have to hold back here with the screwdriver. Sometimes, yeah, you have to hold back behind here. There's some slots with a screwdriver. And some of them are 2 Allen heads. But I'm getting lucky. These are all loosening. See, the back of the nut has those 2 little slots. So if you're trying to loosen it or tighten it and this thing's spinning, you could put either a super wide screwdriver across the top. They do make specific tools that are slotted, and I have one, but most of the times I just wedge a screwdriver in there, and that's all you need to get it snug enough. And some of these have Allen wrenches on both sides. Those are my favorite ones. And we will get the other ring. That's the old ring, which is a 46 tooth. And I'm actually putting a 50 tooth on because the gearing option I went with is a 11 to 40 in the 11 to 40 in the back. So I wanted to make sure. Oh yeah, that's going to look good. I like to make sure all the logos show. I'm just picky anal like that. Although it looks like no matter where I go, all the logos. Maybe one more. No. All right, I'm putting it there anyways. Close enough. There we go. Once you get 2 in, the chain ring holds in place nice. And then you just go around and you tighten it in a star pattern. Truth of the matter is, even if you went around, it's probably not going to work too much. It's not the end of the world. Go around, make sure that I didn't miss one. And I don't think I did. But after a ride or two, when it loosens up, and then I'll know if I did. Okay. That chain ring looks nice. And from the top view, it looks nice and straight. Without a cassette on it, it's hard to tell if the chain line is right. But it looks like it's lining up somewhere around here, which probably won't be bad, but we will test the chain line out once I get a cassette on it. Untape the handlebars. This is self-healing tape, which is like high-end plumbing tape. It doesn't peel off itself. It like fuses, which means I either have to rip it. That's some good tape. It's made to seal holes in pipes. I sell it at any hardware store. It's probably the best tape to use when you're sealing when you're putting the end wrap on your handlebar tape, because it doesn't peel off. I know here, when I put these bars on, I really had to spread this stem open pretty wide in order to get it through. I'm expecting the same. Getting this thing out. Since I want to save these cables, I'll even save this black tape for something later on in life. I'll just rip this masking tape off. And put that on the shelf. Need my little screwdriver. And I think a 4mm. And of course I don't have one handy. I might get lucky. And of course, not. Hey, it's a 5. I had it in my hand. How about that? And now it's time to take the cable off with these internal brake levers. There it goes. Boom. And now I can reuse this brake cable. Get rid of my screwdriver. I'm going to take this is a nut and bolt, completely out. This way I can spread it open, because you can see how tight it is. That's because this bar is probably a 26mm and this stem is probably a 25.4, 25.8. One of those two, because there was like 3 different sizes back in the day. You were always able to get one handlebar to fit another with this size stem by flexing it. But yeah, if you went too big and you tighten it too much, you can crimp the handlebars. But back in the aluminum handlebar days, it was a little less of an issue. You wouldn't want to do that with a carbon bar. And I have, what do I got here? I have big screwdrivers. I have a metal tire lever. And I'm going to use something different because this won't wedge. Need something that'll wedge it open. So we will go with a big screwdriver. Not too worried about scratching. Some of the old stumps were threaded behind. You would thread the nut in this way and stick like a quarter here, and you would just tighten it. It would open up. Those were nice. I ended up finding 2 chisels, and they're wedged in there. I just flex it a bit, and there we go. And from here, there we go. Now I can remove these. And get them out. Hopefully, the other bar I have mustache bars are ergonomically amazing. There we go. Definitely an old lady comfort style, but that's what mustache bars are, and I like that. These have a really nice sweep back. It's a very natural to your hand angle. So oh, it's so nice. I don't have to squeeze, pull, anything. That is good. Found it. I'm not going to worry too much about perfect angle. Just need to get them on for now, because I'm having to wait another 5 days or so for the drivetrain parts to come in. There we go. Tight enough for now. Angle doesn't look horrible, but all that's going to get changed anyways. I'll give it one more good. Oh. Now I could put brake levers on. At least I could set up the front, because the rear I have to put a shifter in. I happen to have some ESI grips or some old school Auris. I haven't yet decided on which, but I can at least use what I have here as a spacer for the front. That way I know where the brake lever will go. And all this can be changed. It's just giving me a starting point. There we go. And I'll just give that a quick little, that takes care of that. We'll get the cable in front. Now the housing that came with the mustache bars had to be really long, so I get to cut down a whole bunch of this for the front. And you know, ideally it would be here, but in case I want to raise the stem in the future, I will give myself another inch or so, and that should take care of future-proofing it to a certain degree. You always want to make sure that the end is, there you go. That will never focus cleanly, will it? Anyways, you want to make sure that there's nothing in the way of the cable coming in and out. And here's the cable I rolled up earlier. This brake lever doesn't actually have a slot in the barrel. A lot of them do. You would think I'd be able to slide that sucker straight through, but there we go. Takes care of that. Make sure the barrel's all the way in. I am going to need a cable end, which I have here. This end doesn't get one where the barrel adjuster is. I don't know, does it? Yes, it does. Some barrels don't allow it. This one does, which makes me happy because it's nicer when they're there. You can adjust the barrel adjuster much easier. Actually, I can cut that quite a bit. When you have a cleaner end cut, it's just easier to feed it through things because these cables were used prior. And really got to pay attention to where I put my tools because I am horrible with it. Always have been. And I'm not going to go for the full adjustment right now. I'm just going to pull that up and give this a snug just to hold it all there. It works. And it's a little long, but like I said, I did that intentionally. That way, if I need to erase this, I can. That looks to be about as far as I can go today. Once I get the components in, which is a chain, a cassette, rear derailleur, and shifter. Of course, a shifter. And I can see if I pinch the tube putting it in because I do that shit. And I have other tubes. Actually, I see 2 boxes over on my shelf. I don't hear any air coming out anywhere. It could have been I just left the valve open. Well, I will know next time I come to work on it. And I'm excited about having another bike with gears only because since I moved to Vermont a few years ago, I gave my road bike away thinking I wouldn't use it much up here with all the mountain biking and gravel biking, and Bennington's a pretty flat city. Well, technically a town. They consider it a city. And yeah, so my fixed gears and single speeds are definitely enough for that, for the environments that I'm in. And but it will be nice to have a bike with gear, so when I want to go ride with buddies or go do a tour, I will have a bike that can handle it. The single speed chainring that I took off was a 46 tooth and I think a 16 tooth freewheel. The reason I decided to go up to a 50 tooth here with 11 to 42 cassette is I end up with a super low gear, almost like a double modern compact road bike, and then that would be with the 50 and the 42, so I end up with a nice low gear. And with the 50 and the 11 tooth in the back, it will give me about the same high gear as a compact double road bike, so I should be able to keep up. And the main reason I went with more of a straight bar versus a drop bar, once you get into drop bar component groups with the STI style shifters, whether it be Micro Shift, SRAM, Suntour, they get really, really pricey, as where mountain bike components in general at the lower price points that I'm looking to buy are a lot more affordable. So that's the main reason. And going one by just makes sense even on an old modern bike with all the wide range cassettes right now. I didn't want to have to deal with front shifters and stuff like that. So this is coming along pretty good. Hopefully next week all my parts will come in and we'll get this thing going and riding. If you like what you see, click like, subscribe, and yeah, this should be up and running. I'm pretty excited about it.